everybody. I'm Liz Larson with Cognomovement. And I have a question for you that I wonder if you've ever considered. Is trauma more important than joy? And more specifically, is your trauma more important than your joy? So it seems like we put a lot of emphasis on trauma in a life and a whole lot of importance on that trauma. So what do I mean by trauma? I mean a moment in time that impacted you negatively. So you may have heard me tell the story again and again, but there are people whose lives were negatively impacted by a popsicle. They didn't get a popsicle when they were 4. That installed a pattern in the body of not being loved. Now, it might sound funny, but it's not, because for that person, even though they don't remember it consciously, their body remembers. And from that moment on, they aren't able to feel loved like maybe other people do. Now, to most of us, that would feel like a no thing. But to the body, it's recorded as a trauma. It also could be something major, a car accident, an assault of some kind, all kinds of things that can happen in a life that we perceive as negative, and we would call it a trauma. Well, because of the way that psychology has developed over time, back from Freud and Jung and others, is that trauma becomes this very important, all-encompassing moment in time, rather than just something that happened in our past. It's something that we carry with us daily. And there's this idea that we need to be aware of it. We need to watch out. We could be triggered. Now, some of that is true, that our nervous systems will react to something similar and create maybe another moment in time, another trauma, another sort of reaction that's negative to that event. But what about the joys in your life? And are they not equally as important, or could they be? So why is not the very best thing that ever happened to you in your life, why does that not carry equal weight? So I'll tell you why it doesn't normally carry equal weight in your nervous system. It's because the thing that is a problem that hurt you carries with it a level of alert all the time. Your nervous system is constantly on alert for something similar that might also be as uncomfortable or cause discomfort or pain. A joy, there's no alarm bells that need to go off. The nervous system doesn't need to protect against that. So the nervous system doesn't record it as big of an event. But could we shift that? Could we make something that happened in our past be exactly like the book we read last week or a TV show we saw a year ago? Do we have to focus all of our attention on it? Does it constantly have to be at red alert in our system? So if you're a person in your past who maybe had an alcoholic parent, does that have to be the major focus of your life and the reason for everything moving forward? Or could it be a cliff note at the bottom of the book? You know, at this point in my life, here are some things that affected me, you know, an alcoholic parent. And have your joys be the main story. Now, if you're listening to me and you're a therapist, all the alarm bells are probably going off that, you know, trauma needs to be handled a specific way. And that might be true. But with Cognomovement, the idea is definitely shifted, because what we see is that these moments in time that happened, and that's all they are, is a moment in time, can be run by the body in a brand new way. And that's what we do. We actually bring up the topic, allow the body to feel what it feels about it, and then we run that pattern in a way that the body has never experienced before. And it changes the meaning inside the body, not inside the logical mind at first. But once the meaning in the body has changed, meaning the way we feel about it, the mind also changes with it. It becomes a no thing, just like the popsicle. It literally drifts back to its appropriate place in time. Something that happened to you then that does not have enough meaning in the body to constantly come to mind, to attach to something like it, to have you being reacting or triggered by something that reminds you of it. When it's physically gone, when the neurological reaction, that's what we're talking about, is the reaction is physically gone. Your mind just doesn't care about it anymore, and it becomes nothing more than that footnote. That is what is truly possible. With trauma, we see it day in and day out. So imagine for yourself the thing that you call your trauma, the label, the thing that you pack in your wagon and carry around every day. Imagine if that were nothing more than a footnote to you. What would it mean to your life? What kind of energy do you spend on that? And what kind of energy would then be released in your body just to live? If you could push the delete button on one of those bad things that happened and simply live your life as though it never occurred, what would that be like? What would it mean to your future? Would it free you? And then what would it be like if the big events in your life were the best things that ever happened to you? That's possible too. But right now, the best things in your life are the thing that's just a little footnote. Yeah, okay, well, I got that one time. And yeah, I met the love of my life, but, or yeah, I got the house, or yeah, I got the car, yeah, I got the job. But what if those were the things that had the sustained notes in your life? What if you could actually ruminate, that's a big word, on the best things that ever happened to you? Have them be what comes to mind. Have them be what drives you. Instead of that old bad thing that maybe someone else did, or that someone else inflicted on you or created in your life. What if instead it was the sustained note of joy, of excitement? Now, I know for some of you out there, you might be thinking, well, I don't know what you're talking about, Liz, because that's not possible. Only except for that it is. Both things. For the trauma to be diminished to nothing but a footnote, a moment in history, because that's what it is. If it's not happening to you right now, it's a historical document. The only reason that traumas affect us in the right now is because our nervous system is trying to protect us against it happening again. It's just a little fire alarm being pulled, or a big fire alarm all the time. And that prompt from the nervous system to be wary can be eliminated. And therefore, the trauma can be relegated to something in your past, in the distance, that you don't carry with you any longer as your number one thought, or the thing you have to protect against being triggered about, or the thing that drives your life. Your driver can be then whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to even be on a past joy. Your driver could then be some new future that is so bright and so alive that you can't help but be drawn towards it. So, my friends, this is my question. Take a look at your life and notice, is your driver, is the thing that is having you move through your day, is it your trauma? Is it the problem that happened in your life? Is it the way someone raised you? Is it an accident or an incident or a violation? Is that the sustained note that is pushing you forward? Or is the driver something wonderful that happened in your life? Some wonderful person that cared for you, some teacher that spurred you on, some piece of education that you got that changed your life, someone who loved you, even if it was a pet. And if it's not, and you would like for that to be different, Cognomovement, this new modality that's on the planet, birthed by Bill McKenna and myself, changes you as a being. It changes you neurologically. It changes you between your brain and your body. And it removes that feeling of a trauma. It can remove overwhelm and grief and anxiety and fear and pain. But just as equally, it can install joy and bliss and love and freedom. Those are all things that our bodies, our nervous system are capable of running as a pattern, just as equally as trauma. So now with this system, with Cognomovement, it becomes a choice. So we have a book that actually shares this idea with you. It's called Suffering is Optional. It's a free download on cognomovement.com. Just come download it and find out how this is actually possible and whether or not you would choose it. Here's the thing, you can choose to hang on to traumas or hang on to joy. In the past, it's been this thing that we have to change our mind, and that's been way too hard. Minds are not easy to change. But the feeling in the body, as it turns out, if you have the right tool, you can simply uninstall it. Just like fixing a car. You can uninstall it and you no longer feel that way and your mind just doesn't follow along. So now you get to choose. And if you know that you can keep your trauma if you want to, and you can let it run your life if you want to, absolutely do that. But if you're the kind of person that wants to choose something else, who's ready to choose a life that is driven by something else, joy, love, peace, freedom, now there's that option. And so that's why the book is called Suffering is Optional. Because sometimes we do want to suffer for a while longer, you know, sweatpants, ice cream, not wash our hair for a week. And then there comes a point when you're ready that you move on. And we are now offering that possibility, is no matter what happened to you, that you could begin to move on with joy. So again, I'm Liz Larson with Cognomovement. Thanks for being with me and listening to my question of the day. So we'll see you in cognomovement.com. We'll see you after you've read the book, and see you when you decide to choose your driver to be something else. Talk soon.